俺たちが最後の砦だ。
Hey, Sketch.
Hey, Tay, so the boys are back in town. 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 We finally get to see the Big Four fighting together. It's the first fight scene we actually get to see of all of Domas, Bebin, Dorishi, and Apis actually fight together against a single enemy instead of just all trying to fight each other for various reasons.
Oh, so it was a team-up scene, right? Speaking of team-up scenes, do you like team-ups? Do you think team-ups are lame? What do you think about team-ups overall?
But team-ups can be a very interesting thing to show the dynamic between two characters or a group of characters. I think when Sasuke and Naruto put their two elemental releases together, that worked out pretty well.
Right, but that's only a two-person team-up. I'm talking about Avengers level team-ups, 4 people plus. When you're trading blows, I think it's really hard to do an animation. That's why we don't see it very often.
You do have to animate several people at once, and even doing 2 people at once in a single scene is pretty difficult.
Especially when it's a flat surface versus a 3-dimensional area. Where the Avengers, one can come from behind, another one from the front. In animation,
You kind of do have to do everyone at the exact same time.
where it's a lot easier to do team-ups in the Avengers.
Well, live action, I guess.
But I think there's a couple of places that do great team-ups. JJK, the classic beatdown. Whenever they're gonna jump people, it's always in pairs of 2 when they jump hard.
Everyone knows the Toto and Yuji beating down.
And the Nanami and Yuji. Yuji is a fraud, man. He always teams up. I've not seen him go one-on-one and win against anybody.
Look, I guess he has the opposite of the usual protagonist problem, in which they're usually the only person who can solve the current issue.
It's true. So going back to this, so we see the Big Four fight, right?
Mm-hmm.
What led into the fight?
So, Oken has stabbed Bojji. He has stabbed Despa. Kage almost swallowed him out in this big, huge monster form, which we learn is actually worthless, because Oken breaks out immediately and puts Kage near death. So you know what? There's no one around. I think Mitsumata shows up, and Oken stabs Mitsumata. He's about to bite into Mitsumata. He actually does. And right as he's about to kill the big serpent, Bebin finally shows up from underground. I don't know where this man was.
From the dungeons.
He was in the dungeons talking to King Boss the entire time. Saves the day at the very last second, and then Apis, Domas, and Dorshi show up.
Hey, if you want a faster response time than Apis, Domas, and Dorshi, hit that share button, because we post regularly.
Every day. Or we try to every day.
Except Sundays. I don't like editing on Sundays.
Anyway, so we actually do get to see the 4 of them fight together. At first, we do get a little bit of a 1-to-1, which I'll talk about later, versus Domas and King.
I'll just talk about it now.
So we actually do get to see Domas square up against Oken first, where Domas charges in against Oken, and he actually does a little bit better against Oken over Bojji, because I guess his sword style just works out better. And as it turns out, Domas might actually be better with the sword than Oken, the Sword King. What do you think?
So it was very strange, the fight. It didn't seem like Oken had to do much to win. He literally can take any hit, and he purposely was taking hits and then stabbing back, and Domas has to be the better sword fighter in that sense. But when Oken was down and out at the very end of the episode, we see him hit that flashback, the protagonist, I got this moment, and all of a sudden his training came into effect, and it seemed like he got a lot better very quickly.
Speaking of that flashback, how well do you think Oken recalls his memory? Because during that flashback, we see everything's dark, even Despa.
I don't know if he recalls his memories or if it's just his body intuitively just knowing these things. But it's just basically saying that Oken has the protagonist power of when you're about to be down and out, all of a sudden you're going to become the greatest fighter of all time.
I guess Oken is our true protagonist of this story, somehow.
Some way. Right, so since we're talking about characters, who was your favorite character in this episode?
Probably Domas. He squared up against Oken. He did pretty well up until he got hit by a small rock, but baby steps. Sort of him kind of working towards redeeming himself after pushing Bojji down a hill, or down a hole.
My favorite character was Bebin.
Bebin?
He was in the underground. He figured out what he needed to do. He figured out what Boss's plan was, which is to not do anything. And he said, well, if you're not going to do anything, I'm going to go do stuff. And this man has information, has saved Bojji and Kage using Mitsumata, and came up first to protect all of them. Definitely the MVP of the episode.
How do you think Bepin even got there so fast? Did he just tunnel through the earth, or how?
The real question is, how did it take Domas, Apis, and Dorsey so long?
I don't know, man. Maybe it was a massive courtyard they had to run through. That's my only real explanation.
And then we also see Hokuro trying to pick up Bojji and saying we need to save him. Do you think Hokuro is going to make the big four into the big five? He gets that giant crossbow. It's pretty good coverage.
He's gonna be the king's arrow, you think?
Got the king's spear, the king's shield, the king's sword.
The king's other sword?
Is that what Bepin is? I don't even know what Bepin is. The king's dagger.
I'm pretty sure Bepin is the king's second sword. Something like that.
Not the dagger?
No, because he doesn't use a dagger, he uses a sword.
Speaking of sword animations, though, when Oaken started his revenge tour, did you notice that his sword became more flexible on its hits?
On his hits, or just like it, you can see the smear frames better?
I think it was done on purpose to show that the sword was now bending to Oaken's will, and that's why he is the sword master.
Oh, potentially. I didn't even think about that. That's pretty good.
Right? Because you see that his force got a lot stronger, and before the sword would just shatter, right? When it would go head to head with other people's sword. Crazy. It broke 7 times, but now all of a sudden...
It's bending, and he's still able to get back together.
No, it doesn't even break after the revenge tour starts. It just starts curving into him. Because at points, you see Bepin's sword, and you see his sword, and his sword's bent more than Bepin's sword.
It's just really throwing us all into this fight.
How'd you feel about this episode overall?
You know what? It's a lot of fighting in this episode. Usually with Ranking of the Kings, we get a lot of story and we get a lot of character moments. These last few episodes has been fighting. And you know what? Ranking of the Kings fighting animation is pretty good, pretty fluid, but it's not as hype as some other anime when it comes to fighting.
I think the problem is we're getting a lot of fight scenes that don't mean much.
You're right.
Right? Because the fight scene I was excited for was Kage devouring Oaken and like becoming an Oaken versus Kage battle. But it did not become an Oaken versus Kage battle. It became the big four finally showed up, and we've seen them fight. We know they're not going to win.
We've seen them fight individually before, but I guess this is kind of cool that we get to see them fight together. But at the same time,
they're not doing much togetherness. They're not using Avenger powers. Captain America using his shield to reflect Iron Man's laser kind of stuff.
No, it's usually just one will attack, another one will attack from a different angle. Maybe Domas will attack to the front, and then Apis hits from the side until eventually Dorsey pins him down.
So here's the other question, because I already gave my answer, but we'll elaborate a little bit more. Do you think the Big Four can win?
I don't think it looks very good for them. Oaken kind of got his heroic, shonen protagonist second win.
But I don't think anyone is gonna stop him.
No. So, moving on to the next question. When Rogoro was trying to tend to Bojji's wounds, Dorsey says Dorsey mentioned that healing had already used their power, but there's another person who could heal his wounds. Who do you think that other person
is? And Bepin
is?
also confirmed. So it can't be Miranjo, because Bepin didn't know about Miranjo until Boss mentioned her. And unless they do a plot hole, then we caught this plot hole ahead of time.
Or Boss just mentioned to Bepin that Miranjo can heal and would maybe heal Bojji.
Maybe it's Boss.
Boss?
We haven't seen him use magic, but he was in the Homa Kingdom long enough.
We do see Miranjo healing Kage when he's near death.
But she's gone now.
Fair enough. She's in limbo, or what do you think Miranjo is?
I don't know. But how about you guys leave us a comment on, or just watch the episode, on who you think this extra healer was supposed to be or is, and have a good day.
Laters.